soccer on the Michigan Soccer Network.
I watch soccer on Michigan Soccer Network.
لا تنسون تتابعونا على Michigan Soccer Network.
I watch soccer on Michigan Soccer Network.
I like to watch soccer on Michigan Soccer Network.
I watch soccer on Michigan Soccer Network.
Me gusta mirar fútbol en Michigan Soccer Network.
I watch soccer on Michigan Soccer Network.
I love watching soccer on the Michigan Soccer Network.
Back to Vitriol. He'll take a shot and he'll bear it! And then he'll fire it from Billows and it'll go in! Now Worrell has a good cutback from him. He'll fire one, and that's gonna go in! And both goals so far. He'll fire one, and that's a wonderful save, Trinity. That's missed. Oh, it's Stone! And he'll fire one now from distance, and that is in! What a strike by Ben Maher!
Hey guys, this is Gronthik Chatterjee on Nationals Monthly here on MSN. Welcome back to episode 3. Today, I just wanted to start by just kind of recapping the first 2 episodes, just to kind of overview and kind of lead into what we're going to do here today. So in episode 1, in case you wanted to go back and look at it, we kind of talked about the entire kind of genesis of Nationals and how the club started, where it grew, and how it's expanded across the last 6 years. Kind of all the different levels of club soccer, from a developmental stage through the club soccer ranks, how that connects into high school soccer, college soccer, and then on to the semi-pro and pro ranks. We kind of covered a lot of ground there in the first show to kind of set the scene. Episode 2, we sat down with Steve and John from the Michigan Soccer Network to talk about what are some of the kind of larger questions that are out there about club soccer, right? And what are the main concerns that you kind of hear on the ground, on the street? They I think voiced them fairly articulately from their points of views as both parents, as former players at the club level, high school level, collegiate level. What's out there, in terms of the concerns from a variety of different points of view, and how that applies not just to Nationals, but to the overall larger, club soccer world. So hopefully we get some insight into those kind of larger questions in the larger soccer scene, and how Nationals is, on the ground in a variety of these areas. Hopefully that really came across in the last 2 shows. So in this one, we're actually going to do something fairly, I hope a bit more unique here, where we're going to start to dive deeper into a couple of different areas within Nationals, so you really get a sense of what's happening on the ground, how that connects back into what we talked about in the first 2 episodes, and then really resonates on the ground in those sections of the club. So with that being said, we're going to be having I hope with some great conversations with Rick Miracle, our director here in Genesee, and with James DeCosmo, our director in Capital Area in Lansing. And as we talk to those 2 gentlemen across the next little bit of time, we're gonna do it in a little different way this time. So we're gonna kind of cut this show into 2 parts, where we're gonna start out with Rick Miracle in Genesee, and then continue in a kind of second episode that connects these dots with James DeCosmo in Lansing. So with that being said, we'll take a short break, and we'll be back with Rick Miracle. Talk to you guys soon.
Thank you for stopping by the Michigan Soccer Network. To not miss out on any of the action, all you have to do is simply hit the subscribe button, and that way you're notified every time we bring new content or go live. Thanks for stopping by.
Clubs love Ollie because it helps them manage their club and accelerate the development of their coaches and players. Every soccer club talks about their focus on development, but nobody actually measures it until now. We've developed the capability for every one of your teams to easily capture pro-level game stats in real time using a mobile phone. It's one thing at the end of the day to look up the results for your club, but how valuable would it be for directors to actually see how each team played? How well did a team possess the ball and control the game? How well did they create dangerous chances inside the box? How did your top players perform? And how is each coach improving from week to week? Ollie provides this powerful data through a club dashboard that shows club results and lets you drill down into any game or player. Ollie also includes team and club management, that lets you communicate instantly with coaches, parents, and players, and lets directors see every club event so they can easily coordinate visits to matches and training sessions. It's got everything you need in one simple app. Reach out to us to get your club started today.
We're going to try and win this thing. We're going to go for it, right? You're watching your team, you're watching them play, you're watching them practice. Is this a team you thought at the beginning of the year was going to be there at the end?
Yes. And honestly, I told my team this, and I told a lot of people this. It wasn't unexpected. I think we have a top program. I was actually pretty disappointed that we hadn't won one up until now. I think we've had some great years before, 2016, 2017, 18, even 21, 19. I mean, where things just didn't click. They didn't work out for us at the end of the season, where we had great seasons and didn't work out. But this year, everything came together, and to be honest, it wasn't unexpected.
Okay. No, and that's good. I mean, you think about it. You said there's lots of times you watch, and we had Todd Hugh here a few weeks ago, and there was a year that his team did not make it all the way to a state final, and that was the team that he said was the better team that he thought was going to go. And then when they won it, and maybe not been the better team he had, but that's sometimes how it shakes out.
Hey guys, welcome back to Nationals Monthly. This is Gronthik Chatterjee here on MSN, and now joining me in the studio, Rick Miracle, our director in Genesee.
How are you?
Hey, good, Rick, man. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Yes, indeed. Welcome to the show. So, Rick, I guess we want to just jump right into
Sure.
it. You've heard the past couple of shows, and we kind of always talk about the Nationals difference. Why don't you start out just kind of explaining to our audience and to me what you kind of think is the Nationals Genesee difference, let's say.
Yeah, so a couple years ago we had a marketing piece where we talked about ways that we're different and just kind of an explanation of what we do at the club and kind of a rundown. And I think it's a multi-part thing, of course, right? So buckle up. But one of the things that we have to talk about, I think, is access to the best facilities in Genesee County. Our Junior Nationals program, which has been the largest in Genesee County, and we've got professional coaches doing that program. It's been great. I think you also have to mention, the levels of play and levels of competition that our teams are able to compete at as part of the difference. And I think it comes down, the final part would probably be, the people that we have in Nationals Genesee that make us pretty special.
Yeah. Well, okay. So you touched on a number of points right there.
It's a lot, right?
Yeah. No. It is. But I think that also is why it is.
Sure.
The Nationals Genesee difference, right? Is that it does have a variety of different things that really make you guys stand out in your community, right? So, kind of with that being said, for those of us that are maybe not from the area or are unaware,
yeah,
what are the facilities that we use up in Genesee?
So we're very fortunate. When I say we have access to the best facilities in Genesee County, I mean that. So in the fall and the spring, we play at Deer Run Soccer Park in Linden. We have a great relationship with AYSO there, and Amy Converse has done a great job of making sure that we have a perfect place to play. So fall and the spring, we play and train Deer Run in Linden. Fall and the spring, we also play and train at Rick Harker Soccer Complex in Grand Blanc, which Grand Blanc area is a big soccer area, and have a good relationship with the AYSO there. And that's helped us over the last several years. And then we have a really unique thing where we have full access to Mundy Sportsplex in Mundy Township, which is kind of exactly in the middle when you look at our club and kind of how people are spread out all across Genesee County. Mundy's a perfect location. So we move inside typically in the month of October when everybody else is getting rained on and it's kind of nasty out. And we're very fortunate to be able to play and train there from October all the way until a couple weeks from now. So that's different for sure.
Right on. Got it. And Mundy's an indoor complex.
Yep. So it's an indoor facility. 2 77 fields plus training spaces behind. So when you look at the amount of space that we need and we use for training, it really helps. Everything's tight, technically focused in the winter, and so that's where you see these really big jumps in terms of player development.
Right on. And Nationals kind of has kind of first dibs on all the training spaces that we want, so we can kind of really make sure in that area that everyone gets exactly what they need.
Yeah, I think when you look at the access to that, I think we canceled training maybe 3 times the whole whole year. I mean, just when roads are unsafe to drive, basically, is the only time we're not training, which is unique. To be able to have a facility like that where we can move inside if the weather's not great, that's a benefit for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely, exactly. Every time it's raining or you start to lose light in the fall, you can always move inside and make sure the training happens.
That's
for the kiddos, right?
That's
and
right.
Obviously, if you're training and you're out there doing it, then you're developing, right?
That's true. Yeah,
no,
true.
100%. That's awesome. So one of the other things that I heard you mention was junior nationals, right? And so let's kind of really talk about that and what that is and how that kind of connects into the Nationals Genesee Club.
So, yeah, and you highlighted this in one of the previous shows as well, the Junior Nationals program we do. For us in Genesee, it's 4 to 8 year olds. It's a player development program where we focus on training. We do it in a little bit different way at Genesee, where we've had our coaches, our actual Nationals Genesee coaches, running the sessions every week, and we do it in different blocks: fall, winter, and spring. And what we found is really cool is the players respond so well to it because they get to know the facilities, they get to know our training methods and the way we organize things and the structure. They get to know our people and us as people. So when you look at a 3 or 4 year old that's never played soccer before and they have that kind of comfort level of coming in and working with us, and seeing the energy level and 60, 70 other kids there, it really creates a cool environment. So we've been able to grow it into a program that's been the largest in Genesee County, and that's for a reason, because we have some really special people doing it. So that's really cool.
Okay, so that sounds pretty amazing. How often do the kids in the junior nationals, like what do they do? If I was coming into junior nationals, what would I expect for my 5-year-old, 6-year-old in the middle of that age spectrum that you just discussed?
So you probably see me there. I love it. So I coach every session I can. So it's a way for our coaches to give back in a way. So it's an introductory program. It's kind of broke up 20-20-20. So 20 minutes of kind of skill introduction, 20 minutes of introducing that skill in another way, in activities designed specifically by our staff to get the most out of the session, and then 20 minutes of a small-sided game at the end, so they can score goals and fly around, like airplanes, celebrating after they score.
So
of course, it's a fun environment, and it's really high energy, and our staff does a great job with it.
Got it. And then so when you do that and you're signing up for junior nationals, what's your commitment as a parent? Are you signing up for like 1 day a week? Are you signing up for 6 weeks? What are you signing up for?
Yeah, so what we do is in the fall, in the winter, and the spring, we do kind of 5-week blocks. So it's an hour a week. Not a huge commitment level. We're like I said, we're fortunate with the different locations, so we can offer several of the locations to kind of fit the needs of the parents. So in the fall and the spring, we do Deer Run or Rick Harker, so you can choose whichever one you're closest to, which is perfect. So you're there for an hour. We get them all tired out, and then you can throw them in bed afterwards, right? So
that's great.
It's good.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then in the winter, you continue the program in the winter at Monday?
Yep, absolutely.
And still was operating in those blocks?
Same thing. So wintertime is 5-week blocks for an hour. We're working on creating some more as we kind of move forward, which is exciting. So right now it's an hour once a week. Parents come in and they get to sit and watch and enjoy. They don't have to do any work, just enjoy. Yeah.
No, it's super cool, man. And so when so now let's say that my 7-year-old or 6-year-old is getting super excited about soccer, right? And they've done the fall and they've done the winter or whatever, and they're looking for more. What happens then?
So with us, you look for the guy with the beard, Justin Osweja, J.O. He's the one in charge of all of our 4v4 stuff, and he's kind of the introductory figure to soccer in Genesee County. And so he gets you set up with, hey, here, I think maybe you should check out a training session and see if it's a fit. It's a little bit different environment, but very similar. And then we can discuss the options of, okay, here's what our 4v4 teams do. Here's the commitment level, and whether or not it's the right fit for you and your family. So it's really kind of an individual decision. But when you look back over the past several years, I mean, the majority of our players come directly from that program. So it's done a great job of creating future Nationals Genesee players.
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like it's a really cool environment, right? Because you actually have all the national staff out there. So when you do end up, because it's been a little while since I've been 6 or 7, but I can only imagine that when you first enter like a club soccer kind of environment, and this is a great way to connect in, because it can be really intimidating.
It can be.
Right? You know, everyone knows what they're doing. All the kids go off to their respective coach, and they know what their warm up is, or they kind of know what the expectations are. Everyone knows everyone, and you're the outsider,
That's
right?
right.
So if you come in there and at least you know some of the friendly faces of the coaching staff, and you've kind of been, oh, this is what you do when you come to soccer. You come into this area with this group or whatever. It's not when you come into the club setting from the junior national setting. It's a nice bridge, right? It feels familiar for the kids.
And consistency is the key. You know, we try to do everything as consistent as we possibly can to make sure that there's not that overwhelming feeling of, oh, what am I doing here? So yeah, consistency with the coaches, with the training methods, and what we do, what we focus on in those age groups. That's been the key for our success.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then, you know, for me, you're also doing it at all those wonderful facilities that you talked about. So that stays the same too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's real cool. Well, with that being said, we're gonna take a break here, and it's time for John Hill's Mental Performance Minute of the Month, and this week's topic is going to be positive psychology. All right, guys, see you back in a moment.
Hello, I'm John Hill. Welcome to the Mental Performance Moment of the Month. Each month, I will bring you a short video about how you as an athlete can better prepare for the mental side of the game. Just like you go to training for the technical, tactical, and physical side of the game, mental performance training is the intentional act of training your brain for your sport. This month's mental performance moment is positive psychology. Positive psychology is a scientific approach that studies human thoughts, behaviors, and feelings. It relies on the awareness of strengths rather than weaknesses. It builds off of the good that is happening in our lives rather than the bad. Positive psychology is well-being, and the gold standard for measuring well-being is called flourishing. There are 5 factors involved in flourishing: positive emotions, engagement, relationships, meaning, and accomplishments. To increase flourishing, start to work on experiencing more positive emotions. Do more of the things that make you happy and bring enjoyment into your daily routine. Work on upping your engagement. Pursue hobbies that interest you. Develop your skills and look for a job more suited to your passions. Improve the quality of your relationship with others. Work on building more positive and supportive relationships with your friends, family, and significant others. Seek out meaning. If you don't find it through your work, look for it in volunteering opportunities, personal hobbies, or leisure activities, or acting as a mentor to others. Keep your focus on achieving your goals, but don't focus too hard. Try to keep your ambition in balance with all the other important things in your life. What did you do well? What would you like to improve? How do you go about improving that? Remember, focus on the things you do well. Start giving yourself more credit.
Hey guys, this is Gronthik Chatterjee with Nationals Monthly. Welcome back to MSN, and what a great segment right there from John Hill. Always insightful and always very, very useful, I think. So with that being said, let's hop back in here with Rick Miracle. Rick, we kind of finished up on some parts of the Nationals Genesee difference, from your perspective in terms of the facilities and then junior nationals and how that has led into kind of a seamless pathway, into the club.
Yeah.
So I guess with that being said, the next question that would come to my mind is, okay, so now you're on this pathway, you kind of have a sense of the coaches and the facilities,
Sure.
and now you're in the club. All right, what do you get? What do you expect when you enter the Nationals Genesee club, and what are the levels of play, and from 8 to 18, what's happening?
Yeah, so I think the first episode you did a great job of breaking down all the different levels, and there's a million, right? So
totally alphabet soup of leagues,
yeah,
right?
Super overwhelming sometimes for new travel parents, but we've always tried to play at the highest levels we possibly can, and get used to the level of competition. We're in a unique position where sometimes we don't have 50 kids come into a tryout for a certain age group, right? So we've got to create stuff organically. Best way to do that is to play at the highest levels we can and push and get there. So our 7v7 teams play MSDSL, which is one of those leagues that includes, clubs like Liverpool in the different locations there, Michigan Jags with the main branch, Huron Valley, CW3, Dearborn, Michigan Hawks, Michigan Wolves, Michigan Tigers. So some of those other kind of larger clubs for our 7v7 teams to learn how to play and compete against, the other ones that have the same kind of mission and goals as we do. When you get to the 9v9 age groups, that's where, we start talking about Directors Academy. Our red teams, which is our second team, still playing MSDSL. And the great thing about that is they've been able to win divisions and get promoted.
Yeah, awesome. And
it's
always fun.
Do very well for red teams to have success is great for us. Our black teams have done something a little bit different ever in Genesee County with the levels of competition with them. So our 9v9 teams, our 2011 girls played DA Tier 1, so Directors Academy Tier 1. 2012 girls, same thing, Directors Academy Tier 1, and that comes from that MSDSL level of competition, playing in the higher divisions when we're the youngest.
Right.
2011 boys, Directors Academy Tier 2. Last year they went all the way to the Junior State Cup finals. And they lost to Rich Ludwig and the Nationals Oakland team. So I had to explain, Mark Milner's the coach of that team, I had to explain to him, like, listen, this isn't usually the way it goes. Mark's just joined us from Beach FC in LA, and great coach, and first year he takes his team all the way to the Junior State Cup final, right? So I say, hey, listen, this is not typically how it goes, but that's good. And then our 2012 boys, very good team, kind of DA Tier 1, Tier 2 level. So I think if you look back and you say, hey, these Genesee County teams are playing at this level, that would be something that you wouldn't have expected a few years ago, but it just kind of shows you the level of what we've done to get them to that point. And then, if we don't qualify, then if we don't qualify for like NLC out of the U12 group, then we go to MSPSP, statewide Premier League. We've got several teams that play, Premier 1, Premier 2 range. And do
really high level.
Yeah, and do pretty well. And then, we've even had two teams this past year who've played National League Conference NLC.
Yeah, brilliant.
Only Genesee County teams. 2006 Girls Black and our 2008 Girls Black, actually, with Steve Hancock, had one of the best years ever. So they went NLC Premier 2 and won it and qualified to Premier 1.
Yeah, that's a huge accomplishment.
So now you look at it
top tier in the Midwest, right?
Yeah, and next year they'll be playing at a higher level than any team in Genesee County at all, right? So that's a huge accomplishment. So, but I think it goes back to, like we were saying with junior nationals, it all kind of ties together and it all kind of builds, and we're able to play at higher levels of competition than anybody else in Genesee because facilities, resources, staff, philosophy, all those things that really make us unique.
Right on, man. So you all right? So you touched on a lot of stuff there very, very quickly. That for you and I think it's it's standard.
Sure.
And so we understand it. So I'm just going to kind of delve back in there just a little bit. So when I'm in under 8, under 9, under 10, and maybe even through 11 and 12, I would be playing in MSDSL where I'm playing against a lot of the other top clubs. In suburban Detroit, and especially kind of down the west side, down the 23 corridor that heads down towards, Novi, Northville, Livonia, that section of the world.
Yeah, and even our Nationals capital area groups as well. So we play against them as well, right?
Yeah, they're part of that same league, right? So, if I'm a parent of a young kid, then that gives me, I get to have all my training locally, and then I get to play matches against some of the best clubs and best competition in Michigan from a very, very, very early age, right? And that kind of gives you a from a coaching perspective and from a team and player perspective, it gives you a kind of a litmus test as to where we're at compared to them, and then also kind of gets you blooded in terms of the level of competition, right? Because sometimes if you play too weak of a competition young, you start to get a very, very inflated sense of self-worth and like where we're at in the overall soccer universe, right? Whereas when you get right away into a top league, you kind of understand exactly where things are at, right? Which then leads right into the Directors Academy, which is all the top clubs in Michigan. And then that's tiered into, like you said, Tier 1 and a Tier 2, and now there's even a
tier
Tier 3
as well,
So, and so that just leads directly into that conversation as to, okay, so MSDSL has been this like wonderful early proving ground so that the top teams in Genesee can enter the Directors Academy
Absolutely.
and hold their own, because that's already who they've been playing against. Right.
It becomes a sense of like, hey, we've seen this team before, right? Because you're playing them for a couple of years, but it's how it has to be for us to be able to sustain that level and continue pushing, and it's worked out very well.
Yeah, and then I would think the exact same thing's happening from the Directors Academy up into NLC.
Yep.
You know, but now maybe it's not. Some of the teams are the same because there's always Michigan. You know, teams. Michigan's such a strong state.
Sure.
There's always Michigan teams playing in the NLC divisions, and of course in MSPSP, it's all Michigan teams, but maybe not just the local West Side teams. You also have the local East Side Detroit teams. You have Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo. You have some of the other clubs from around the state at the MSPSP level that enter the fray. And then obviously at the NLC level, you're talking about the greater Midwest.
Right.
And so now you get to test yourself against an even larger group of clubs and players and kind of new experiences, right?
Yeah, and that's all kind of led to new experiences for us, right? Winning state cups, junior state cups, being able to compete at those levels and get deep into the tournament is something that's new for Genesee County teams, right?
Yeah, and I think that's what you're really articulating. I think is that this kind of confluence of events, right, from the facilities to the coaching staff to how you're developing players and in terms of the levels of play that they get to compete at, but then also what's happening on the training ground and the fact that you're not missing training sessions, that you're training consistently with a particular philosophy and with top level coaches is really starting to have an effect in terms of where the competitive levels are that are now available to Genesee County via our club, and also what individual player development into how they are progressing as individuals in addition to as teams. So one of the things that keeps standing out is like you keep referring to the coaching staff, right?
Yeah.
So you already mentioned Coach Milner, and so I just wanted to give you a moment to maybe talk about within the coaching paradigm, guys that coaches within the staff that are doing things that you just want to highlight briefly. I'm sure you want to talk about everyone, but
I could do an hour on each of those.
Totally right. So we have like a quick minute maybe left. So in this particular segment, so just give me an idea.
I think with the high school coaches, travel coaches, all the people we have, like Paul Stravato does several teams for us. He won regional coach of the year at Powers for his high school work. Yeah, so you look at somebody like that who's had so much experience. One of the ones that I refer to a lot is Justin Osweja, the bearded wonder. Yeah. He's done it for decades, and typically that would stand out to you like, okay, he's doing the older, higher level teams. Justin does our 4v4 teams, right? He's the one that sets the foundation for all of our players. And when you look at this level of success and the fact that they're able to go from junior nationals to 4v4 teams, working with Justin, and then jump right into that high level of competition. It's because we've done things differently, and then when you talk about nationals, Genesee,
you're dedicating a top coach to your youngest kids and their development, so that the groundwork's set for their future.
It is, and it helps us too. With the mentorship. Justin's daughter Lily Osweja coaches for us, and she's a former player, very good player. Lily's done a great job for us. Brant Sanchez, another former player, he's working in those 4v4 age groups and doing our goalkeeping. Yep. It just sets the stage for us to have success for many, many years.
Right on. Well, I know that there's probably about there's several other names you'd like to mention at this point in time, but really wanted to thank you for your time, Rick, and making the journey down here and talking to us a little bit about what's going on the ground in Genesee.
Thanks, Chief.
So with that being said, we'll got to take a quick break, guys, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Great.
Talk to y'all soon. Thanks, Rick.
No problem.
Good to have you.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Michael Fahmy. I'm the president and the founder of OMPT Specialists, Inc. For several years now, I worked as a physical therapist at a large healthcare system. And back in 2006, we needed to do something different, something really focused on the patient quality care. And that's where OMPT Specialists started. With one goal in mind, how to provide a higher level of physical therapy for guaranteed better outcomes. And that have to be done through a few rules. One, our physical therapist is skilled.
Our therapists go through a 2-year
This is Gronthik Chatterjee here with Nationals Monthly on Michigan Soccer Network. As we come back, I just wanted to kind of recap what a wonderful conversation with Rick Miracle, our director on the ground in Nationals Genesee. Hopefully that sheds some light as to what's happening there and what some of the Nationals' difference in that community is, and what it means to all the people in that community. I think you got a real sense, or I at least got a real sense, I hope you guys did as well, of the facilities, the quality of the facilities, their locations, which makes it, for me, ease of access to different people in different points of that community, because, that's probably about a 30, 40-minute drive across town, depending on where you're at, within that realm, up in Fenton, Grand Blanc, those sections of town. So having facilities on both sides of town, having access to an indoor facility where, as light diminishes in the fall or the weather goes south, which in our state can be almost at any moment, having access to those facilities so that, you're only ever really canceling training sessions for the kids when the roads are impassable and it's a danger to drive. What a difference that makes to all of the people that want to play soccer in that community that are a part of our club in terms of access to opportunity, right? Access to those facilities, access to their coaches, and consistency of training. Got a real sense of how our junior nationals program there helps acclimate families and obviously the players, the young boys and girls in that community to what club soccer can be. And then how easy that transition is because the way it's set up in Genesee, how wonderful that transition is really for those players to seamlessly come into the club soccer environment. And then I hope you got a real sense of how the Genesee portion of our club is competing at the top levels of youth soccer in the very young age groups at 8, 9, 10, and continuously on into 11 and 12 in the Directors Academy and up into, whether it's the statewide Premier League at MSPSP or NLC, which is the larger kind of Midwestern leagues in USYS that we compete against everyone around the Midwest. Having access to all of those different leagues for these players. So, one thing, a lot of your real development, right, happens in training. And so really understanding the training edge that our club has within that community is important, I think, for everyone to wrap their heads around. But then also to have access to playing against those top clubs so you get blooded early and often against other really good competition. And that's all available to everyone within that, that part of the world, which, you go back in time, it just didn't exist in Grand Blanc. If you were a good young player in Grand Blanc, you had to come probably south to Detroit at a very, very young age. Now you get to stay home and train throughout the week in a really good environment, and you still get to play against all of these other top kids and don't feel like you're sacrificing necessarily. You're not sacrificing, you're not falling behind, so on and so forth. And then when, I think we didn't quite get a chance to talk about it, but when the very best of the best within that environment do want to make that jump, you obviously have all these other levels down here in Detroit that you can jump into within the Girls Academy or the Boys Academy and some of the other leagues that were mentioned across the last shows, from the Girls Academy or ECNL on the boys side, so on and so forth. But you can also just stay in Genesee and have a wonderful experience playing, in NLC, playing in MSPSP, and, you're still going to have great opportunities to go off and play in college. I think one thing we didn't get to talk about are some of the marquee signings that are happening out of the Genesee community for kids that have never left that area that are off to now go play at Aquinas, so on and so forth. Those things are happening, on the ground within that section of our club. So, with that being said, I hope everyone got a real sense of what's happening there, and also got a real sense of Rick Miracle and, the leadership that we have on the ground in Genesee. I think you got a real sense of his genuine caring and his genuine, real connection to all the coaches and the staff and the kids on the ground. And I think that's a big part of it, guys, right? A big part of it is the people. Any organization is always going to be as good as its people, and I think we have great people. I think that's probably one of the real big distinguishing marks of Nationals. And sometimes it's easy to talk about, but when you actually see Rick and you hear him, and you can see that he's connected to everyone within the staff, and he wants to share about. Oh, I certainly got the sense that he wanted to really share about them and their accomplishments and what they're doing to help all the kids within the community and on the ground, on the field every day. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the show and look forward to the next one. We'll see you all shortly. Take care.